Right, what we're going to talk about now is no warm-up dives. This is something that has produced an enormous success for me, and particularly this year. A lot of elite divers have suddenly discovered that they made huge and quick jumps simply by not doing warm-up dives. Now, we have to ask ourselves why not? We have to ask ourselves, why are we doing warm-up dives? And that's a hell of a question, which is one that I couldn't answer, so that's why I went to no warm-up dives. So let's think about that for a second. Why am I doing warm-ups? It's like walking around something psychologically. You've got to walk around it to prepare yourself for a big effort. It's a big effort as a demand on your courage, a demand on your concentration, a demand on your physiological limitations. All those things are going to be stressed. So we like to slip into this pond gradually. Actually, it doesn't work well, because what's happening is we are wasting certain physiological advantages that we have or could have. Those are coming from the dive reflex. The dive reflex comes in response to stress. The triggers on the face actually respond to bradycardia, and we know the difference between facial temperatures and core temperatures. In other words, cold water where the body is warm. If you were hypothermic, they wouldn't kick in. If you're not hypothermic and you have a normal core temperature and you suddenly have cold water on the face, the dive reflexes do kick in, you get bradycardia, you get the whole thing. We know about cold water drowning reflex saving people who have drowned in lakes or in very cold places, and they've been yanked out of the water after as much as 47 minutes and revived with a couple of breaths, simply because all that happened was that their pulse went down. They got a laryngospasm, the pulse went down, and it went down probably very low, probably as much as 4 or 7 beats a minute. We have some evidence for this. Now, let's get back to the thing of no warm-up. If we make ourselves go into the water without warm-up and perform and say that performance is the performance, that's what's going to count today. This is in training. Okay? Psychologically, we have to make adjustments. We come to terms with it. Well, it's only one big effort and I'm finished with it. We make all kinds of psychological adjustments that actually pull us into tune with our physiological adaptations. One of those is the spleen effect. Now, your spleen doesn't contract umpteen times. You do not want to waste your spleen advantage on little warm-up dives. Now, there's been a lot of experimentation, a lot of thought devoted to this subject. People like Erika Chagatai have devoted quite a lot to it, which at least dates back to 2008, where I met her and she was doing experiments on everybody who took part, all the competitors who took part in the international dive competition in Sharm el-Sheikh in 2008. And she was measuring how many warm-ups for optimum performance. Well, in those days, she worked it out, and because everybody was doing warm-ups, and some were doing more than others, and some were doing all kinds of different ideas about this. Some were approximating the depth of their target dive and going down quite deep on a warm-up dive. That didn't work too well for a lot of people. Some people were doing smaller depths, but with a hang at the bottom. All kinds of different theories on this thing. But on the whole, it produced about 3 warm-up dives for optimal performance. So anyway, after all this, I had a conversation with Erika and I said, look, there are a lot of people who would like to be able to get rid of the warm-up dives completely because they may be getting cold. There are people who are doing, for instance, in colder water, not cold waters, but in cooler waters, are doing no fins. They're in thin suits. They do not want to hang around doing warm-up dives. They want to get in, do their dive, and get out. So that's one example. And she said, oh yes, and we have this question with people who are doing big dynamics. So we compared notes on that, and then Erika developed much more in depth in this subject. We discovered that no warm-up dives were a very good idea, at least I did. And I recommended it to other people. I do not want to name them because I have not got their permission to talk about this using their names. But this year there have been a German record produced with bifins. There have been other things that people who suddenly switched to no warm-up dives and made a giant leap in progress. So it's something that I think you should bear in mind. I've had extremely good success with it. A lot of people will be absolutely horrified by the idea going into the water without warming up, but get over it. And the harder approach pays off. And when you discover that, and suddenly you discover a depth that was just outside your reach, becomes actually an easy dive, then you'll adopt it. So thank you for listening for this one. See you again soon.